Hey guys, welcome back to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath Holland, and I'm joined for a conversation about the Fly franchise, the whole franchise, by Anastasia Elfman. Welcome back, Anastasia.
Hello, hello.
I see you're wearing your Fly shirt,
I am.
the Brundle Fly.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Uh-oh. It's kind of gross. I have a hard time wearing it outside.
Yeah, you're gonna get looks if you wear that in certain places.
Just at like horror conventions or something.
So we have been made. First of all, this was your idea. You said that let's talk about the Fly franchise as we both have these Scream Factory box sets, and it's the whole kit and caboodle. It's all three of the. That is lovely. I don't. You got to talk so the camera switches to you while you do that because they're not going
Oh,
to see
yes.
all that.
Oh, here we go. Ooh, look at this. Vanna Whiting. It's so fun. Oh, look at our guy. Look at Vincent.
It's a beautiful box set with all the art and the. It's nice to have all five of these movies. In some ways, I feel like there should be more than five movies, and in other ways, when I watch them, I'm like, five might be too many. I don't like where should we start here? Do you have any overall impressions just about these movies?
Well, here's my overall impression is why aren't we taking more precautions about flies? Why are there so many flies?
It just keeps happening over and over again.
I mean, with the original, sure, okay, it happened once, but in the sequel, you would think we would put up like a fly net or like have some kind of like little hand fly swatters. I feel like there should have been like things in place to make sure that it didn't happen again.
Yeah, yeah. But then we wouldn't have these cautionary tales, about man's hubris of messing with science over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really interesting revisiting, and I don't even know if I saw the third one, The Curse of the Fly, but revisiting The Fly and then Return of the Fly in my head, I kind of just smushed them together for some reason because I was like when I was watching the original one, I was like, where is Vincent Price? Like, why isn't he here? Because
Yeah,
he's just there for a tiny bit.
my memory, because I haven't watched it in years, now I've watched it now, but my memory was that Vincent Price was the Fly. He's not the Fly, he's the brother.
Okay, I am so glad that you said that
Okay.
because I was almost about to like to not mention that, but I have distinct like just mushed it all together and I would have bet a pretty penny that Vincent Price was the Fly. And apparently he's not.
Well, and also when this movie came out, when the first one came out, it's 1958, and he's not the Vincent Price yet that he's about to become. He's doing a little bit of that stuff, but he's still coming off of, he's like a thespian, he's a more serious actor, and all that camp stuff was later. Even in this movie, he's a fairly serious Vincent Price. He's not really chewing any scenery or doing the things we love that he does.
Well, a little I feel like he's old. He can't help it. I mean, he just like walks in the room and like looks up and he's chewing the scenery for me.
Yeah,
And I love
that's
him.
okay. He is always himself. Yes. Should we mention too that this is adapted from a short story? And it had just come out too. The story debuted in an issue of Playboy. Let me see. It's the June 1957 issue of Playboy. And there's a movie in 1958. So they immediately jumped on it. I would say the short story is darker than, of course, because there's a lot of things they couldn't do in 1958 on the screen. It's darker. It's more tragic, I guess. And it doesn't have okay, real talk here. So I love The Fly, the movie. Like it's a great classic horror movie. Here's some of my notes. We don't get The Fly until like an hour into the movie. That's too long. But my other thing is the help me, the little fly thing is like, help me. I don't think that works. I don't think it works at all. I don't even think it worked in the 50s. But listen, I wasn't around in the 50s, so I don't know. Maybe it does.
But it did work in what was it, Emperor's New Groove when they do a nod.
It's a great Easter egg you just picked up on. Yeah.
I love all these little nods. It was
Yeah.
funny. I was watching something, I can't oh, it was like Bob's Burgers, like a new Bob's Burgers episode, and there was or newer, I don't know, we were behind a little bit, but because I watched The Fly the whole thing with our daughter Audrey, like she's just like walking through and ends up watching, sitting down and watching it with me. And so she picked up that it was a original Fly reference in the new like Bob's Burgers. I was like, yes, it's happening.
You're like,
That's
my
like one
job
of
is done.
exactly. That's like one of my major things is to make sure she knows like her like horror history and film
Hmm.
history. So it's
Yeah.
all coming to plan.
Well, in this short story, that's not really there. There is of course, like he gets switched with the fly. The fly had they reference that the fly has a white head, like the little fly has a white head, and that's how they know. And they're like, I saw this fly with a white head. And then the tragedy of the story, like spoilers for the 1957 short story, is at the end of the book, this guy's like, oh, I just killed a fly with a white head. And that's how you get the whole like twist of it all. But there's no like, help me. Jumping ahead really, we can jump back around, but in the second movie, the special effects try to do it even they try to even go even further with it. And we're like, we're gonna put the whole face on the little fly. And I don't think that works either. But
Oh my God. Can we get into like these side creatures too? Because like
yes,
isn't there like a guinea pig or something or like a hamster
yeah.
man? It was just like so wild. And how just I guess we're just going back and forth, but like how
Sure.
tragic was it that the cat like totally like disappears and the cat's
Yeah.
like meow
It's like meowing from like the ether. I don't know, like where is it? It's just like meow
in the
meow meow meow.
in the air vent. Like
Yeah. Did you want to go back to something for the first fly?
well, I was just gonna say that I love the animation. I you know the little animation tricks that they did with the different formatting and things like that, and the opening credits. I dug, and yeah, I mean,
Here's another thing too, is that in my mind, the way I remember this movie, because the other two are black and white, and they feel relatively like cheaper, lower budgeted classic horror movies. The first one is this lavish full color widescreen, 235 letterboxed, big movie. The Return of the Fly is also in widescreen, but it's black and white. I actually prefer it in black and white. I think these movies belong in black and white. We Belong Dead. No, but they belong. I feel like they play better. I don't know. Because when it's black and white, I feel like it has more of that classic, almost universal horror quality, And that second movie has a whole old dark house kind of a thing. It's got like this gothic, a dark and stormy night kind of a thing that the black and white really helps with.
yeah, yeah. I mean, also it was interesting the change with the fly mask and costume versus the sequel. You know how they like go bigger. I actually prefer the first one. Like
The
that design.
actual
Yeah, that design
physical,
of the fly. Yeah. I thought
well,
the second one was a little bit like clunky for me.
yeah, they probably didn't have the money. Well, if the prop was already built, wonder why they didn't just use the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it got lost. I
Somebody
I mean
knows.
well yeah, somebody probably has it and is wearing
Yeah.
it while we're like discussing this right
I bet
now.
Bob Burns has it. I bet Bob Burns has it. Like he's like, these guys, they don't even know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, like, also back then, it's like they weren't like saving a bunch of stuff, right? Like, there wasn't like people, like, I don't know, like super fans of like props. Right? Like, I think that's
right.
a relatively new kind of like a collectors, with that
Hmm.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right. I like the themes of the second movie of Return of the Fly. It's basically just premeditated murder. I mean, it's a much darker story because it's less like an accident and more about, this just killing, just killing people. And there's a murder. He like this guy gets killed and then he covers it up and he's like going through the steps to. It's almost got a noir quality because he's like, I gotta get rid of this body. What am I gonna do with this body?
Oh, completely, completely. Yeah, I got that vibe too. I was like, where's like Bogart? Is he gonna like bust through the door any moment,
And then there's a shot of the dead guy. This dead guy he drags him into the disintegration chamber, and it's just like the straight up shot of this dead guy. I'm like, this feels a little extreme for 1959.
Yeah, it was pretty heavy.
It's got like a happy ending, as much of a happy ending as these movies can have. Do you think that a Fly movie needs a happy ending?
I mean, I feel like some people want, but I don't know if it needs. I mean, because they're all like very cautionary tales, right? So
Mhm.
of not reaching too far, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. You just raised something I want to follow up on. It's like that's what people want, but I don't know if that's what the story needs. We're seeing a lot of that these days. Maybe we always have, but do we give the people what they want, or do we give them what the story what makes the story better? And you make movies, so how do you walk the line?
Well, I mean, from the movie making perspective, it's like you're just servicing the script and the story and everything. So I don't know. I think those choices are kind of already made by the time I get involved, but also it's like to service the work. I don't think definitely like as an actress, I mean, like I'm not making any heavy choices to try to like appease any audience member. I'm just worried about telling the story and hopefully surviving so I could be in the sequel.
Yeah. I guess it happens more at the studio level where they like, what makes the most money? If we give the fans if we do fan service, maybe
I
when you
mean,
get to Bloody Bridget 9, or you
oh, I love this thought. I love this thought. Yes, please. I mean, as a fan of cinema, no, I would rather it service the artists and the work. I mean, I don't need to be spoon-fed anything. I don't need a happy ending. If it calls for it, sure. But like, I don't know. And of course, like a lot of the films that I'm watching, they're all like more genre based and they're not like, you know, somebody I don't know, like some like love story. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so let's put a pin in this until we get to The Fly 2 later, because I know your friend Mick Garris um, had crafted this whole idea for a Fly movie, and then he's got screenplay credit, but it's not the movie he wanted to make. It's not the thing that he turned in.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to him about it, so I don't
Let's
have
get him on the
any.
phone right now. Let's call Mick.
Sure, yeah,
Well,
let's do
he
it.
actually okay. I'm gonna save it for when we get there. But it's an interesting conversation about what the story wants, what the story needs, and then like, but that doesn't sell popcorn. So, like, Curse of the Fly. This is a good transition to Curse of the Fly, which is 6 years after the Return of the Fly. It had cooled off, and somebody was like, "Let's do it again." And it feels very different. It's a different time, filmmaking wise. It looks different. It looks kind of French. It's got that like French New Wave style.
It's almost like I don't know, it has so many I don't even know if I would consider this in the Flight universe. You know what I mean? Except for like
Well,
the
there's no
the
fly.
exactly. Except for like maybe the science behind it, but it's more of just I don't know. I was expecting more fly.
That's your review. Your quote, your pull quote. I was
Yeah.
expecting more fly. One of the things I like about it is it's trying to deal well, it's for just like there's the mental health, the mental institution. The opening shot of the movie is this woman running towards the camera out of a mental institution in her underwear, and
I
that's like
know.
super exploitation. I mean, that's like from a later, that doesn't feel like 1965. That feels like 80s or maybe 70s. But I like that. And then I like the idea that she's actually the sane one in this family of these disintegrators, this family of disintegrators and reintegrators who just can't leave this technology alone. And they've left this room. They got a room full of failed like monster people that they've created from doing it wrong.
Yeah, like out in the barn or something, they're like keeping these poor people. Like that was a total, I was not expecting that. I was like, what are these people doing out here?
Yeah, it's a different kind of horror story because that one's it's not about, I guess the first two are sort of about, well, the first one is like science gone wrong, and then the second one is trying to chase like the selfishness of self-serving science, and then I guess the third one is just like it's even further in that direction where it's like, look what we can do. And that's kind of the thing that I think the Cronenberg movies deal with, and the Cronenberg era movies, the later the 80s movies get into um just this whole idea of science and I don't the thing about the Cronenberg film, the 1986 version, it is so sad to me, and I don't like to watch it very often because I really find it to be genuinely upsetting. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, completely. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, when I pitched this, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to watch it again. I was
Yeah.
like, what have I done? Because it's like so gut-wrenching to see. I mean, it's so different. It's such a different spin from the original because it's like in the original, um, he was transitioning into like this fly creature secretly. So we would only see little bits here and there, and it was very like like a like a sterile version. And then go to the remake. Oh my God, there's like ears falling off, fingernails, pus flying on the mirror. Like it's nuts.
Yeah. And I think what makes it even more powerful is seeing Gina Davis's character react to all of this because she's genuinely horrified and she also loves Jeff Goldblum's character. Oh, by the way, Jeff Goldblum is fantastic in this. He makes everything so effortless, but it's not. I know it's not effortless, but he makes it just very real and approachable. And I believe that they're in love. I believe that he's like, look at this cool thing that I did. And he's like, no, don't tell, you can't write about this. This was just for you. And it's this whole, it feels very personal.
Yeah, it's like we're getting a little peek into somebody's like relationship. Yeah, I mean, he's such an incredible actor and just all the physicality that he put into the this change, this metamorphosis that he goes through and losing abilities and gaining abilities is just like incredible. Like all the little ticks he has, the licking his lips, the twitching, all of that. Very heavy and hot choices. And it's so wonderful to watch. And obviously Gina Davis too. I mean, she must have been a wreck after this, just like for how emotional she had to react to I mean, obviously, like if your significant other is going through something like this, like you're going through it as well, um, emotionally. And man, what performers, you know?
You know that scene where it's towards the end of the movie and she comes to visit him one last time. I think she's going to tell him that she's pregnant. And he comes out of the shadows and he's like, you need to leave now because I can't guarantee you that I'm not going to hurt you. That is a tough scene.
Such a heavy and tough scene. I mean, actually, when I was rewatching it, okay, not to bring it back to like my favorite guy, Lon Chaney Sr., but it
Of
reminded
course
me.
you bring it back there.
But it reminded me of his Eric in Phantom of the Opera, like just like in the shadows and just like loving. And then especially when we move forward, when she's like at the clinic and she's about to get a procedure, and he scoops her up and like takes her back, and I'm like, oh my God, how romantic! Like a little ew, but thank you.
It's an interesting perspective because I hadn't thought about it that way.
It was like very like universal monster like moment. You know what I mean? Like them
Yeah.
on the roof and stuff. It felt like a classic monster film and those moments to me.
Yeah. But he probably would have eaten her though, whereas the Phantom, any of Lon Chaney's characters probably wouldn't have eaten the damsel.
No. No, I mean he literally like died for her for like why though? Because she was terrible. But But anyways, back to the fly. Yeah, he probably would have lost. I mean, he was so far gone, near the end. So yeah. And he
Should we
was,
talk a little bit more about the practical effects because they're incredible?
yeah, yeah. Let's
I know
dive
you have a
in.
heart. I know you have a heart for effects. I know that you love effects of all kinds, but that practical effects are really something that speak your language. I think that they're really convincing and like we said or like you said earlier, they're just gross. Like they are really gross. I mean, ears falling off and like even the thing on your shirt where he vomits on his food
Oh
is
yeah.
so gross.
I know. I know. I got this shirt so excited to wear it and then I'm like, "Oh no. What have I done?" Like
You
I
should
can't
wear it to
wear it.
pick up your daughter from school. And you're like, I'm over here, and just make sure everybody sees it.
She would love that. No. Yeah, so I guess I'll just like have to find reasons to wear it. I don't know. We've got Monster Palooza coming up this weekend, so I'll just like wear it there, I guess. But yeah, the effects are insane, insane practical effects. They're puppets, the animatronics. Uh there was like squibs involved, all kinds of stuff. And I think it's like I mean, I didn't look up how long their shooting schedule is, but I don't know. I feel like they were given enough time to prep it correctly and then enough time to execute it, and not
Hmm.
like super rushed. And I think when artists are allowed that time, that's when we see these wonderful effects.
Yeah.
And then they also didn't they get an Oscar for makeup for this
Oh, I
film?
don't know.
I
I
think so, yeah.
That's incredible. Well, it's well deserved because it's fantastic makeup. And I'm gonna say The Fly 2, if you don't mind me jumping ahead to The Fly 2 now,
Sure.
1989. It's also got really good effects. I don't love the movie, but the effects are pretty good. I mean, given what it is, we're talking about pre-CGI, and they really go all out at the end of this movie with the fly on the attack. And you have to kind of use your imagination, but then they do some really cool things with. There's one shot where this guy, he basically, for people who might not have seen the movie in a while or don't remember it, or maybe have never seen it, it's like the son of the fly, basically. And he's in a lab and they're studying him and he grows really fast because he's part fly. And at the end of the movie, he basically gets free and goes on a killing spree in this lab where he's been observed and kept prisoner. But there's this one shot in particular that I'm thinking of where this guy is like at a door and he looks around the corner and the fly is like down the stairs in the hall and he throws something or he spits something and then like the guy yanks the door shut really quick and it's like boom, and it's all done in camera. It's like one shot and it's such an impressive effect. I just wish the movie was a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you like it? I don't want to
Oh
like if
no,
you
I'm okay with it. Like doing more research, it's like I would have liked to see the version. I guess Cronenberg has a whole written sequel to The Fly ready to go. And so I want to see that happen.
yeah.
And then, I kind of wish, I guess Gina Davis didn't want to be a part of the sequel because like, spoilers, like she's only in it for like kind of the opening scene and she wanted to have more of a character arc. So she passed and then they just replaced her.
She also said that she was so upset by what happened in those scenes that she didn't want to revisit it.
Yeah, I was reading that stuff too. So I guess it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, that scene was so weird and heavy to go through.
Yeah, and she didn't need to do that at that point. 1989, she's doing bigger things than that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess also she had written a sequel she didn't, but she was going to be involved in a sequel. Like I guess her ex-husband like I think he was like a director or something like that and he was open to doing another one, but where she plays more of a significant part.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dog stuff in this movie is brutal. I don't know why. I don't really know. I mean, I do know why it's there because it's a shortcut to make us hate the people that are in charge of this whole thing. But
Hmm.
it drags on so much, and they just seem to glorify and torturing this dog. Luckily, when the dog gets discombobulated and they just keep it in this whatever, they keep it in this little like cell or whatever. It's an unconvincing puppet at that point, and I'm like, okay, it looks enough like a puppet that I'm okay with. Like I can deal with it, but it's a screenwriting trick. If you want to turn the audience against somebody in your movie, you have them hurt an animal. This like have them shoot the dog is the expression. And they don't just shoot the dog, they torture the dog for like 30 minutes of this movie. And I'm like, man,
Ugh.
that's enough.
I know. Yeah, I actually had to fast forward some stuff, so I hope we don't talk too much about it because I don't know.
Okay, so Mick Garris is on the Blu-ray here. They do a new interview. When this came out, it was a new interview with Mick Garris talking about his idea for what he had wanted to do. And he's like, I think he says, I watched the movie once. It's not my movie. It's not what I turned in. And he's like, but whoever came up with the dog was genius because that's everybody wants to take credit for the dog. And I think that's really interesting because I think that's what people remember about this movie. How do you feel about Eric Stoltz and Daphne Zuniga as the two leads of this movie?
Um, I guess okay. I mean the sequel isn't one of my favorite. I mean, I think of the whole franchise. I mean, I love Vincent Price alone, but I like the remake original one is my favorite. So kind of everything else like
Hmm.
suffers in comparison for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. No, I think I'm
But
with you. I would back that up. The Cronenberg Fly is amazing, and I like the originals, but nothing can touch that Cronenberg film.
yeah, it's like I have so much respect for the originals and it in my head they morphed into like the Fly and then Return of the Fly kind of morphed into one film. And I also have like a distinct memory of Vincent Price being the Fly. So like all of
Hmm.
that has been dis disenchanting to me revisiting.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean the remake of The Fly is so different and also such a like standalone, you know. So it's hard to compare because just the way that the characters, you know, their arc and everything, I feel like we get like a full scope of everything. And I personally don't think anything's missing from it, you know. I think
no,
it's
I
like one of
agree.
those like perfect films. I mean,
I
the story, the acting, the effects. I love the score, you know. So it was all great for me. The editing was great. I mean, sometimes it's like if you don't have a great editor, it's like, you know, what's the point? You know, because it's like you've got to keep the pace going. And I just completely on the edge of my seat with the Fly remake.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm preparing myself that they're probably going to remake it again because now, this is what happens now is, well, now we have computers and we can make this so much easier. And Universal's trying to redo all of, like now we have a new Mummy and we have a new, like, Disney is going to go because Disney owns Fox now. They're going to be like, we have the Fly franchise ready to go. The idea, I mean, it's already written. It's I don't want to see it made again. It's already, the best Fly movie has already been made.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because it's like a lot of the films that I enjoy are tech like some of them are remakes, like with, you know, The Fly, but it's also such a departure from the originals. And for that's what makes it like special for me. And it's like also like what you're talking about remakes, like they're talking about remaking like Death Becomes Her or something. I'm like, please don't. Like
Yeah.
perfect masterpiece, do not.
Everything that we hold sacred, somebody wants to remake.
Well, yeah, and it's like, you know, like with me, it's like I have such an affinity for practical effects and the old school way of doing it. I mean, I enjoy the like VFX and I believe that there's a marriage, but it's like right now I feel like unless it's like some independent like film, the creators aren't getting the time that they need, you know, and
Yeah.
that's the truth. It's like the budget's there, but they're not getting the time and they're wanting to like everything to go faster, you know, which
Yeah.
is not like great for the art and it's suffering because of it.
Well, and what I've heard too is that these executives will see dailies and they're like, you know what, this is not what we really were thinking about. Let's change this. It's in the middle of production. You're changing things that really don't need to be changed. It's dangerous. Let filmmakers make films. Hire the people to do the job and let them do the job.
No, exactly. Or
Mm.
just have the you know suits do all have them write it, have them shoot it, edit
Yeah, if they want
it.
to get involved, they can do it
There you
themselves, right? Yeah. Do
go.
you have any final thoughts about the Fly franchise that you want to wrap up with?
I enjoy the franchise. I don't know if I want another one unless it's like a Cronenberg. I think it's so interesting that Mel Brooks was involved, you know, because
Oh,
it's like,
we should have talked about that.
yeah, yeah, because he's like produced it, right? It's like his production company or something,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe. So that's something that you don't think about a lot with him, but he's actually involved with a lot of like different, not always comedy films, like what was
Hmm.
it? The Elephant Man and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he's more than just Spaceballs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I like these movies too, and when I have a lot of affection for them. And it's interesting when you go a long time without revisiting some of this stuff and it has changed, or it hasn't changed, but you've changed and maybe your memory of it has changed. And it's like I don't know when I'm going to watch these sequels again, when I'm going to watch Return of the Fly or The Curse of the Fly or even The Fly 2. But the first Fly movie from the 50s it remains a classic, and the Cronenberg film remain a classic. I think they're both pretty untouchable for what they are. And I'm glad that we got to talk about it. This was your idea. Thank you for pitching this to me. This was fun to talk about.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So
This
what's
was
going
super
on?
fun.
You've got things happening. You got events, plans in motion.
I do. I do. Okay, so this is very exciting. Um, I was approached by the people that hold kind of the copyright for Lon Chaney Sr. And so I'm working with a producing partner, Mauricio of Rockin' Pins Merch, which is like a merchandise company. And we're putting on the official 99th anniversary of Phantom of the Opera here
You
in
were born for
LA
this.
on I know. It's such a perfect fit. And I don't know, it's because I Lon Chaney Sr. is my idol. It's kind of an unreal feeling for me to be able to honor him in such a way. And we're gonna have like a pre-show performance by myself, and then we're gonna have it with a live organist scoring the film and some other fun little surprises. But it's on November 26th in LA, like Highland Park, I believe, at the Lodge Room. And tickets are on sale right now, so
That's
go scoop them
fantastic.
up.
I will have put the graphic up too so people can see it. You and I have never had a conversation where Lon Chaney did not come up. So it is definitely a match made in heaven. I hope it's the beginning of many more similar things. You were born to do this. You love Lon Chaney, and you're a good host for something like this too, because you've got the passion, you've got the knowledge, you've got the experience.
Thank you. Yes, and to see Phantom on the big screen, that's always a special little treat too.
Yeah, and I hope that people are going to come that maybe have never seen it before and then be blown away. This is going to be the best way to see this movie. If you've never seen the movie, this is like this is the best way you could possibly imagine seeing this movie.
Yes, yes. I like to create these immersive, dramatic, kind of like pre-show burlesque performances. Like I've done one for Santa Sangre. I did it like a wild performance in Mexico City, and I do different ones for our films and stuff. And I have a few other ones, but it's a very immersive experience. And yes, I'm hoping that a lot of first-time Phantom of the Opera viewers will be there
Mhm. Yes,
along
for
with
sure.
along with like lifelong fans like myself.
Absolutely. Are you guys still on the road with other things? Are you still touring the films around, or are you kind of on a break right now?
Oh yeah, we just had Bloody Bridget. She's still on the tour. We just had a screening in like New Jersey, and we have another one I think in New Jersey next month that we're gonna go out and do like a live performance, I believe. And yeah, so she's still going strong, and I've been getting such wonderful messages and responses from like fans and friends who have been like catching it while she's on tour. And then we always tour with Forbidden Zone, whenever a gig comes up, because I love Richard's fans being able to experience Forbidden Zone on the big screen, like the way that he wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to put links in the description of this video or this episode because it'll be audio too, so people could just go down there and click through and find all these dates. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up?
No, that's it for me.
Very good. Thank you so much for this. This was always fun. It's great to talk about classic horror with somebody else who loves it like I do. Thank you again. This was wonderful.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.